The time by Carrie Chris is 6 p.m. Time for CBX Business News. The business news headlines is brought to you by CBX Wealth Management, making more possible.
Big bank backing, migration pressure, and budget strains abroad. Good evening and welcome to CBX Business News for Thursday, January 15, 2026. I'm Rachelle Moncrief. Thanks for joining us. Coming up, locally, NCB underwrites over 15 billion Jamaican dollars to stabilize Jamaica broilers following pressures in its U.S. business. Also ahead, Antigua and Barbuda warns of economic fallout as a U.S. green card pause heightens migration and labor supply pressures. And later, Nepal's mid-year review flags a sharp slowdown in budget execution, raising red flags for fiscal management. Stay with us as we unpack these stories and more right after the break.
Wealth is not simply counted in dollars or cents, but in the time we spend with love, in love, giving love. Wealth is not simply a means to an end. It is the means to live out loud. Wealth is more than money. It's about family, the memories you create, the legacy you leave behind, and your ability to enjoy life in the moment. It's also about seeing the QMAX possibilities and seizing investment opportunities to achieve the future you want and deserve. Which is why QMAX Wealth will focus on your investments so you can experience more. Because true wealth is truly more. To start investing today, call 876-926-7767.
Kingston, Jamaica is a place to be in January 2026 for the 21st staging of the Regional Investment and Capital Market Conference that will be hosted by the Jamaica Stock Exchange at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. We invite you to join us as we bring together government leaders, issuers, investors, and potential investors for 3 days of insightful presentations and discussions. Register now. Seats are limited. Call 876-967-3271 or visit jamstockx.com.
The local news is brought to you by Derriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses, and Pulse Investments.
Welcome back to CBX Business News. We begin with a major financial intervention by NCB Financial Group, NCBFG. NCBFG has underwritten 15.1 billion Jamaican dollars in senior secured financing for Jamaica Broilers Group, moving to support the company as it stabilizes operations and executes a recovery strategy. Jamaica Broilers sought the multi-billion-dollar financing after accounting and operational issues emerged within its U.S. operations, placing pressure on cash flows, profitability, and the group's consolidated financial results. The financing is intended to provide balance sheet stability as the group sharpens its focus on its profitable Jamaican operations while restructuring challenges in its overseas business. NCB Capital Markets CEO Angus Young says the transaction reflects confidence in the strength of Jamaica Broiler's domestic business and explains why NCB believes the turnaround is achievable.
This partnership represents the creation of history. It involves two of Jamaica's largest indigenous institutions coming together to support building a better Jamaica. The support that NCB provided to the Jamaica Broilers Group had to be done in the immediate due to the challenges faced by Jamaica Broilers' US-based operations. I'm extremely proud of the team at NCB and Jamaica Broilers for working tirelessly to deliver this historic transaction. Today's signal drives the importance of having strong indigenous financial institutions operating in Jamaica to support very large indigenous businesses that are native to Jamaica and that require that local, domestic, nuanced support.
That was NCB Capital Markets CEO Angus Young. Jamaica's inflation accelerated in December, with consumer prices climbing 1.3% month-on-month, driven squarely by higher food costs and rising electricity and housing expenses. According to fresh data released by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, food prices did most of the heavy lifting. The Food and Non-Alcoholic Beverages Index rose 2.0%, led by steep increases in vegetables, tubers, plantains, and cooking bananas, up 4.5%, alongside a 5.6% jump in fruits and nuts. Statin points to lingering supply pressures from Hurricane Melissa, which disrupted agricultural output and pushed prices higher. But it wasn't just the food aisle. Housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels climbed 2.6%, reflecting higher electricity rates and rising rental costs, adding further strain to household budgets at the close of the year. On a year-over-year basis, inflation ticked up to 4.5%, with food inflation running hotter at 7.1%, housing-related costs at 3.5%, and restaurants and accommodation services rising 3.9%. Meanwhile, Jamaica's unemployment rate edged lower to 3.3% in October 2025, reinforcing the country's position near historic lows. But beneath that headline, the labor market is quietly reshaping itself. According to the latest labor force survey released by Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, today, total employment stood at 1.41 million, broadly unchanged from a year earlier, even as 3,800 fewer Jamaicans were working compared with October 2024. At the same time, the number of unemployed fell to 48,800, down from 51,300, helping to push the jobless rate lower. But participation is slipping. The labor force itself shrank by 6,300 people, pulling the participation rate down to 67.8%. That decline was driven largely by men and young people, with youth employment falling 6% year-on-year and more than 12,000 additional young Jamaicans moving outside the labor force. Sectoral shifts are also emerging. Employment fell sharply in clerical support, craft and trades, and real estate and other business services, signaling pressure in administrative, construction-linked, and services activity. At the same time, hiring surged among managers, up more than 19%, alongside gains in technical and associate professional roles, pointing to a more skills-intensive labor market. Statin cautions that the data reflect conditions before Hurricane Melissa, which disrupted field work across western parishes and delayed full reporting. In other news, Jamaica's leading intercity transport provider, Knutsford Express Services Limited, is charting a recovery course after a bruising second quarter, hit hard by Hurricane Melissa. The storm forced route closures, disrupted depots, and grounded operations for days, pushing second quarter revenue down 17% to Jamaican $413 million and tipping the company into a Jamaican $3.6 million loss when compared with a strong profit a year earlier. But the further you look, the more the story shifts. Over the 6 months to November, Knutsford Express remained profitable, posting revenue of just over Jamaican $1 billion and earnings per share of 13 cents. Beyond the numbers, the company played a frontline role in national recovery, scaling up passenger and courier services, moving relief supplies, and even providing complimentary transport to support humanitarian efforts when mobility mattered most. Looking ahead, Knutsford Express says revenues are rebounding as operations normalize, with total assets up more than 13% to Jamaican $2.38 billion and continued investment in fleet expansion. The company is positioning itself not just to recover, but to grow. We go now to updates from the Bank of Jamaica on how the currency markets traded today. In Thursday's currency trading session, the US dollar is selling for $158.41, the Canadian for $113.84, the pound sterling for $214.26, while the going rate for the euro is $187.13. We move to the latest updates from the JSE equities. In Thursday's trading session, the JSE market activity resulted in the trading of 111 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 53 declined, and 22 traded firm. Leading the winners are MFS Capital Partners, Trans-Jamaican Highway USD, One Great Studio Company, and Atlantic Hardware and Plumbing Company. While leading the losers are ISP Finance Services, West Indies Petroleum Terminal, Pulse Investments, and Future Energy Source Company ordinary shares. The main index declined by 5,291.80 points to close at 332,295.54 points. The junior market index also declined by 56.90 points or 1.69% to close at 3,316.22 points.
And it's time for Market Education Feature, brought to you by Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standard.
In today's Market Education Feature, we're looking at indirect exporting. Indirect exporting involves selling products to a domestic intermediary, such as a distributor or trading company, that then resells those products in foreign markets. Rather than dealing directly with overseas customers, the exporter relies on this local partner to handle international distribution. This approach is especially suitable for businesses new to international trade, as it helps them gain experience and build market knowledge with lower risk. In many ways, indirect exporting is comparable to drop shipping model, where the seller does not manage the final sale to the end customer.
The Market Education Feature was brought to you by Chris, Regional Ratings, Global Standards.
And that's it for the local news segment. Please stay with us. The regional news is up next.
The local news is brought to you by Darriman Trading, better from the start. Development Bank of Jamaica, facilitating economic growth and development. Caribbean flavors and fragrances, tease the senses. And Pulse Investments.
It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Feeling so good right now. Yeah, yeah. It's feeling so good right now. Don't never, ever, ever wanna calm down. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah.
Mikey, is what sweet you saw?
Yeah, dear babes. Where's the Cathy? Me and you go party tonight.
Party? You secure your future yet? Careless.
Did you know that over time, the stock market has provided a reliably high return on investments? Be sure to contact a licensed stockbroker for more information on this exciting investment opportunity.
Taking care of business, Mikey?
Yeah, Cathy. I'm securing my future. Want to come look over my stock portfolio?
The Jamaica Stock Exchange, providing a fair, efficient, and transparent stock market.
Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited has been a part of Jamaica's manufacturing landscape for over 20 years. By crafting unique flavors and fragrances, we have become a part of your favorite household and food items such as beverages, ice cream, household cleaners, and much more. Known throughout the Caribbean for the highest quality, we continue to innovate with strong leadership, a dedicated team with integrity. We go the extra mile for our customers. Create the next taste sensation. Contact us at 876-923-5111 or visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn pages.
Welcome back. And now for the regional business news. The government of Antigua and Barbuda has begun talks with Washington, seeking clarity and potential relief following the United States' decision to pause new immigrant visa applications for nationals of 75 countries, including the Twin Island state. A key concern under discussion is a proposed refundable visa bond of up to US $15,000, a move that could sharply increase the cost of travel and cross-border business for affected applicants. Speaking during an interview on Wednesday, Antigua and Barbuda's ambassador to the United States, Sir Ronald Sanders, says talks are also active with US officials over partial restrictions affecting new non-immigrant visa applications.
The government of Antigua and Barbuda continues its representations to the relevant United States authorities to secure the removal of Antigua and Barbuda from the list of countries subject to partial visa restrictions, including the requirement for certain visa applicants to post a bond. These efforts remain ongoing and active.
That was Antigua and Barbuda's ambassador to the U.S., Sir Ronald Sanders. Bermuda's government is rejecting claims that the island's wealth gap is widening, insisting the data points to broader, more inclusive growth. Speaking at a press conference on Wednesday, Jason Hayward, Minister of Economy and Labor, said available indicators do not show a deepening wealth divide. Instead, he pointed to rising wages across multiple sectors, not just international business, as evidence that economic gains are being shared more evenly.
Well, when we see the uptick in employment income across multiple industrial sectors, it means that salaries are progressing not just within the international business sector, but within other sectors of the economy as well. As it pertains to the overall wealth gap, I don't believe the statistics presented today reflect that the wealth gap is widening in Bermuda.
That was Bermuda's Minister of Economy and Labor, Jason Hayward. In other news, Tobago's private sector is moving to strengthen its oversight role in governance, positioning itself as a key accountability partner amid concerns about transparency and checks and balances in the absence of a formal parliamentary opposition. Speaking during an interview earlier today, Chairman of the Tobago Division of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Curtis Williams, says the Chamber intends to act as a responsible stakeholder and de facto watchdog, stepping up structured engagement with the Tobago House of Assembly.
It's something that we have done in the past, and it's just meant that now we have to strengthen that effort. In the sense, as I indicated earlier on, there's no formal opposition. So civil society, NGOs and ourselves have to definitely step up to the plate. And as we continue, because we did in the past had meetings with the THA, and we will continue those meetings. Those meetings will now have to be up a bit because we want to make sure that the transparency and the checks and balance is there in all aspects of it. You could imagine you have no one to question you when you do anything.
He also noted that targeted discussions are already underway to prioritize key economic and governance issues.
We stand ready to work with the new administration to move the island forward in a positive way, supporting the policies and strengthening the private sector, creating jobs, improving ease of doing business. Now, keep in mind, at the same time, we recognize the unique context of no formal parliamentary opposition. In this regard, the Tobago Division will continue to play its role as a responsible stakeholder, advocating for transparency, accountability, and strong checks and balance.
That was Chairman of the Tobago Division of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Curtis Williams. It's now time for news from the Trinidad and Tobago Stock Exchange. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 27 securities, of which 6 advanced, 5 declined, and 16 traded firm. Today's winners are JMMB Group, the West Indian Tobacco Company, Agostini Limited, and Scotiabank Trinidad and Tobago, while leading the losers are National Enterprises, MedCorp, National Flour Mills, and Massey Holdings. Trading activity resulted in the following movements. The All-TNT Index declined by 1.85 points to close at 1,383.19. The Composite Index declined by 0.66 points to close at 954.87. The Cross-Listed Index advanced by 0.09 points to close at 69.47. The SME Index declined by 1.39 points to close at 92.68. And we take a short break, but please do stay with us. The international news segment is up next.
If it were not for the Jamaica Stock Exchange listing, Phosphate Company Limited would not be where it's at today. I called them, they listened to my concerns and my fears, and they gave me the answers. All the fears I had about banks, about losing control, you are having them. And I tell you, they were dissipated when I spoke to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. This is one of the best decisions I have ever made in business. If you want to change the trajectory of your business and to grow, make that call today to the Jamaica Stock Exchange. You will be glad you did. Welcome back. In international news,
Nepal's mid-term fiscal review is showing a marked slowdown in budget performance, with revenue and spending both trailing targets. According to the Financial Comptroller General Office (FCGO's) report released today, revenue collection for mid-January stood at just 38% of the annual goal, while total expenditure reached 35%. Although recurrent spending has shown comparatively better momentum, capital expenditure remains severely underperformed at just over 12%. For the current fiscal year, a recurrent budget of 407.9 billion rupees was allocated, yet only 494.2 million rupees has been spent so far, highlighting significant delays in disbursement and persistent execution bottlenecks. While Nepal faces fiscal headwinds, European markets are moving in the opposite direction. European equity markets set the tone, with Germany's DAX closing higher and edging closer to record territory. Investor sentiment improved after fresh data confirmed that Germany's economy returned to modest growth in 2025, expanding by 0.2% after 2 consecutive years of contraction. The rebound helped to reinforce confidence that Europe's largest economy may be past its worst phase of stagnation. Risk appetite was further supported by renewed optimism around artificial intelligence, following strong earnings from semiconductor heavyweight TSMC, which lifted technology-linked stocks across the region. Geopolitics remained a background risk, while U.S. President Donald Trump softened his stance on Iran. Tensions resurfaced over Greenland, prompting several European NATO members to join Denmark in military exercises. From European equities, we move now to commodities. Lumber futures climbed above $600 per thousand board feet, reaching their highest level in nearly 3 months, as improving demand expectations met tightening supply conditions across North America. On the demand side, falling U.S. mortgage rates, now at their lowest level in more than 3 years, are reviving home purchase and refinance activity. That shift is encouraging builders to restock inventories ahead of what is expected to be a stronger spring construction season. Supply pressures, however, are intensifying. Higher U.S. duties on Canadian softwood lumber have raised landed cost, prompting buyers to bring forward orders to reduce exposure to further tariff risk. And finally, to emerging markets, where policy clarity is helping to lift confidence in Brazil's currency. The Brazilian real strengthened to around 5.36 per US dollar, reaching a 6-week high as improving domestic data and decisive regulatory action helped compress Brazil's risk premium. Confidence was supported after IBGE reported retail sales rose 1% month-on-month in November and 1.3% year-on-year, reinforcing expectations of resilient near-term economic activity. At the same time, the Central Bank of Brazil moved to place REAGE in extrajudicial liquidation, removing a fraud-linked tail risk tied to Banco Master and easing fears of broader financial contagion. And that's it for the international segment of the newscast. The news recap is coming up on the other side of the break.
Are so much book you need for high school?
I'll show you how to make sure you have all the money for my books and even some extra. It's called budgeting, Dad. Making a budget is the most important thing you can do to track your money. It keeps a record of how much you make, how much you spend, where you spend it, and most importantly, how much you can save. Write down all your income, write down all your expenses, see where you can cut down and allot more money to more important things, like saving.
And now to recap our top stories. In the local news, NCB underwrites over 15 billion Jamaican dollars to stabilize Jamaica broilers. Regionally, Antigua and Barbuda raises economic concerns over U.S. green card pause. And internationally, Nepal's mid-year review flags a sharp slowdown in budget execution. Those were the stories making today's CBX Evening News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Rachel Moncrief. Thanks for watching CBX, your vision, your business, your source.